You're driving down the highway, music is playing, and everything seems fine until those flashing lights appear in your rearview mirror. Your stomach doing a backflip isn't just nerves. It is the realization that in about 30 seconds, you are going to be in a high-stakes legal negotiation, where one wrong word can cost you your freedom, or your car, or thousands of dollars in legal fees. Most people think a traffic stop is just about a speeding ticket, but to a police officer, it's a fishing expedition. They are looking for any reason to escalate a minor violation into a full-blown search and seizure. But here is the secret the police don't want you to know. The law has provided you with a very specific set of shields. And if you know how to use them, you can outsmart even the most aggressive officer without ever raising your voice. As a lawyer who defends people against the state every single day, I am going to give you the 5 legal moves that tilt the playing field back in your favor and end that traffic stop on your terms. Before the officer even steps out of their patrol car, move number 1 is already in play, and it's called the environmental reset. Most drivers spend the first few seconds of a stop frantically looking for their insurance card or shoving things into the glove box. This is the biggest mistake you can make. From the officer's perspective, those are furtive movements, which is a fancy legal term they use to justify dragging you out of the car for a safety sweep. To outsmart them, you need to do the exact opposite. Turn off the engine. If it's dark, turn on every interior light in the car. Roll down your driver's side window all the way. And Siri, if you have tinted windows, roll down the back ones too. Then place both hands flat on the top of the steering wheel. This is a massive psychological and legal move. By making yourself completely visible, you are stripping the officer of their ability to claim they saw you hiding something, or that they feared for their safety. You've just removed their primary justification for an intrusive search right out of the gate. You are projecting the vibe of an informed citizen who has nothing to hide but knows exactly where the boundaries are. Now, as the officer approaches, you have to be ready for the verbal trap. This leads us to move number 2, which I call the deflection of confession. The officer will almost always start with a question designed to get you to incriminate yourself. Do you know why I pulled you over? Or do you know how fast you were going? Most people think being honest and apologetic will get them a warning. It won't. In the eyes of the law, an apology is a confession. If you say, "I'm sorry, I was doing 75, you have just handed the officer a slam-dunk victory in court. Your lawyer won't be able to do a thing for you, because you've already admitted to the crime on body camera. The move here is to be polite but strategically vague. Simply say, "Officer, I am not sure. Could you tell me why I was stopped?" This forces the officer to state their probable cause or reasonable suspicion for the stop on the record. It puts the burden of proof back on them, exactly where it belongs under the Constitution. You aren't being difficult. You are being precise. You are making sure that if this case ever goes to a judge, the officer has to stick to their original story without the benefit of your admission. Move number 3 is the most critical tool in your arsenal, and it's the one that separates the prey from the protected. It is the non-consent blanket. Somewhere during the stop, usually if the officer has a hunch but no evidence, they will ask for permission to check the vehicle. They might say, "You don't mind if I take a quick look around, do you? Or if you have nothing to hide, you won't mind me checking the trunk." They are playing on your desire to seem cooperative. You must realize that the moment you say yes, you are waiving your Fourth Amendment rights. You are giving that officer a free pass to spend an hour ripping your car apart, and anything they find, even if it belongs to a friend or was left there by a previous owner, is now your problem. The move is simple. You say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Use those exact words. If the officer pressures you or says that only guilty people refuse searches, stay the course. Say, "I respect the job you're doing, but I do not waive my constitutional rights." This is a chess move that wins the game later. If the officer searches you anyway without your consent, your lawyer can file a motion to suppress. If the judge finds the officer didn't have a valid reason to search, every piece of evidence found is tossed out of court. But if you said yes, even a little bit, that evidence stays, and you are in major trouble. You might notice the officer is taking a long time. They've run your license, it's coming back clean, but they are still standing by their car or asking you questions about your personal life. This brings us to move number 4, the 5-minute clock. A traffic stop is legally allowed to last only as long as it takes to address the mission of the stop. In a landmark Supreme Court case called Rodriguez versus United States, the court ruled that police cannot prolong a stop just to wait for a drug dog or to go on a fishing expedition. To outsmart them, you need to establish the duration on the record. Ask the question, officer. Am I free to go or am I being detained? Ask. For what specific crime am I being investigated? You are forcing the officer to either finish the ticket and let you go or commit to a legal theory that your lawyer can later dismantle in court. If you just sit there silently for 30 minutes while they wait for backup, you are consenting to the delay. But if you are asking to leave and asserting your right to a timely stop, the officer knows they are on a very thin legal tightrope. They know that every extra minute they hold you without a new piece of evidence is making their entire case more likely to be thrown out. Move number 5 is the ultimate defensive maneuver for the digital age, and it's called preemptive recording in silence. If things start feeling tense, if the officer is being aggressive, or if they are calling in 3 more cars, you need to have your recording device running. But here is the trick. Do not hold the phone in your hand. Mount it on the dashboard, or prop it up beforehand. If you are fumbling with a phone, the officer can claim you are interfering with their investigation. Once the phone is recording and you have provided your license and registration, you need to exercise your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Most people think silence makes them look guilty, but in a courtroom, silence is your best friend. After you've told the officer you don't consent to searches and you've asked if you are free to go, stop talking. If they ask where you are coming from, where you are going, or what you do for a living, you do not have to answer. Say, "Officer, I'd prefer not to discuss my personal business. I intend to remain silent." This prevents the officer from using your nervousness against you. They can't say your voice was shaking or that your story changed because you didn't give them a story in the first place. You are closing every door they are trying to open. Let's talk about the psychological breakdown of why these moves work. When an officer pulls you over, they are looking for a specific type of interaction. They want someone who is either terrified and compliant, or someone who is angry and combative. Both of those people are easy to manage. The terrified person gives up their rights, and the angry person gives them a reason to use force or arrest them for disorderly conduct. When you use these 5 moves, you are presenting as a third category, the informed professional. You are showing them that you are a high liability target. An officer is a lot less likely to break the rules with someone who is clearly documenting the interaction and using precise legal language. They would much rather find someone who doesn't know their rights so they can finish their shift without a headache. You are making it too much work for them to violate your rights. Now I want to address the most common myth that gets people in trouble. The myth is that being nice will get you off with a warning, while being polite is essential. And I always tell my clients to be the most polite person on the side of the road. Politeness does not mean compliance. You can be incredibly respectful while still refusing a search. You can be the nicest person in the world while still remaining silent. Don't confuse being a good person with being a legal doormat. The officer has a job to do, and that job is to build a case against you. Your job is to make sure that if they do build a case, it's done strictly by the rules. If you give them shortcuts, they will take them every single time. Let's look at a specific scenario. The officer says, "I smell marijuana." In many states, this is still the magic phrase that gives them probable cause to search your car without your consent. However, even if they say this, you should still state that you do not consent. Why? Because the law regarding smell is changing. Like New York or Illinois, the smell of marijuana alone is no longer enough to justify a search because hemp is legal and it smells the same. If you give consent, the legality of the smell doesn't matter. But if you refuse and the state law has changed or is in the process of changing, your lawyer can challenge the search later. Never assume the officer is right about their power. State your objection. Let them do what they're going to do. And fight the battle in the courtroom, not on the asphalt. Another thing to keep in mind is the passenger's perspective. If you have people in the car with you, you need to make sure they know the rules too. A traffic stop is a collective experience. Trying to hide their bag, or talking back to the officer will use that behavior to justify a search of the entire vehicle. Before you even put the car in drive, your passengers should know the plan. Hands visible, no talking to the police, and no consenting to anything. You are the captain of the ship, and the captain is the only one who speaks for the crew. If the officer tries to separate you and your passenger to see if your stories match, you should both remain silent. If you don't give them a story, they can't find a contradiction. Let's talk about the exit order. Under a Supreme Court case called Pennsylvania versus Mims, an officer can order a driver out of a vehicle during a legal traffic stop for no reason at all. It is a blanket rule for officer safety. If they tell you to get out of the car, you must comply. Do not argue. Do not refuse. If you refuse to get out, you are going to be arrested for resisting, and you will lose every legal advantage you've built. The move here is to comply with the exit order. But as you step out, roll up your window and lock your door. This is a subtle way of protecting the privacy of the interior. If they ask for your keys, hand them over. But repeat move number 3. I am complying with your order to exit, but I do not consent to a search of my person or my vehicle. This keeps the legal boundary firm even as you are physically moving. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to be a jailhouse lawyer on the side of the road. Don't cite case law to the officer. Don't yell about your rights. Don't tell them you pay their salary. All that does is escalate their ego and make them want to find something to humble you. The smartest move is to be a quiet observer. Take mental notes. What did the officer say first? Did they mention a broken taillight, or were they vague? Did they look in your windows with a flashlight before asking for your ID? These details are the ammunition your lawyer will use 6 months from now. Your job at the scene is evidence collection, not litigation. You are the camera. Let the lawyer be the voice. What if the officer asks to perform a breathalyzer or a field sobriety test? This is a territory where the moves get very specific. In most states, you have the right to refuse field sobriety tests, the walking the line and the standing on one leg. These tests are highly subjective and designed for you to fail. However, refusing a breathalyzer at the station usually comes with an automatic license suspension under implied consent laws. The legal move here is to know the difference. You can usually say no to the roadside gymnastics without losing your license. But you need to be very careful with the formal chemical test. Outsmarting a cop in a DUI situation means not giving them any physical evidence of impairment like stumbling or slurring. Which brings us back to move number 5, remaining silent. If you haven't been talking, and you haven't been walking the line, the only thing they have is their subjective observation, which is much easier to beat in court. There is also the K9 move. If an officer tells you they are calling a dog, many people give up. They think the dog is a genius who will find anything, but drug dogs are often wrong, and their alerts are often prompted by their handlers. If a dog is called, do not give up your refusal of consent. Even if the dog alerts and they search the car, your lawyer can subpoena the dog's training records, its success rate, and its certification history. We've had cases thrown out because the dog hadn't been recertified, or because its alert was actually just a response to a treat from the officer. Stay the course. Don't let the threat of a dog scare you into confessing. Now, let's talk about the end of the stop. Once the officer hands you the ticket and your ID back, the legal seizure of the traffic stop is officially over. But this is where cops are the most dangerous. They will do the Columbo move. They'll start to walk away, then turn around and say, "Oh, by the way, you don't have anything illegal in the car, do you? Since you gave me no trouble, mind if I just take a look?" This is a transition into a consensual encounter. Because they handed your ID back, they are no longer detaining you. If you stay and talk, everything you say is legally considered voluntary. This is the moment to use trick number 4 again. Ask, "Am I free to go?" Put the car in drive and leave slowly. Do not stay and chat. There is no such thing as a friendly chat with a police officer who just pulled you over. Everything is an investigation until you are out of their sight. Why are these moves so effective? Because the legal system is built on a series of waivers. The system assumes you don't know your rights, and it relies on you accidentally giving them up. The police are trained in social engineering to get you to waive those rights without realizing it. They use phrases like, "I appreciate your cooperation," to make you feel like you're doing the right thing by letting them search. By using the 5 legal moves, you are simply refusing to waive your rights. You are staying in the protected lane. It doesn't mean you're a criminal. It means you're a citizen who understands the value of the 4th and 5th Amendments. These rights were written specifically for these types of encounters. Think about the "I pay your taxes" argument for a second. It never works. It actually makes the officer more likely to find a reason to cite you. Outsmarting an officer isn't about power. It's about intelligence. It's about being the person who is so calm and so legally sound that the officer feels like they are the one being tested. When you ask, "Am I free to go?" you are the one in the driver's seat of the legal interaction. You are the one setting the tempo. That control is what keeps you safe. Another move for the advanced driver is the documented objection. If the officer decides to do a search despite your refusal, and they ask you to stand by the side of the road, watch them. If they start looking in places they haven't mentioned, or if they are being unnecessarily rough with your property, say out loud, "I want the record to show that I am objecting to the manner of this search." Again, the body camera is recording. If the officer is throwing your clothes on the highway or breaking panels in your car, a judge will see that. It can lead to the search being ruled unreasonable, even if they had a reason to start it. You are always building your case. What about the plain view doctrine? This is the one move the cop has that can beat your moves if you aren't careful. If you have a baggie of something or a weapon sitting right on the passenger seat, the officer doesn't need a warrant or consent. They can see it. This is why move number 0 is to keep your car clean. Don't have things in plain sight that can be misinterpreted. Even a hollowed-out cigar or a certain type of scale can be enough for plain view probable cause. If your car is clean and your hands are on the wheel, you are forcing them to rely on smell or consent, and we've already discussed how to beat those. Let's discuss the interference trap. Sometimes an officer will tell you to stop recording or to put your hands in a certain place because you are interfering. If you are recording from a mount and your hands are visible, you are not interfering. Politely state, "Officer, I am not interfering. I am documenting this encounter as is my right under the First Amendment." This shows the officer that you know the difference between obstructing justice and exercising rights. Most officers will back off once they realize you have a clear grasp of civil rights law. They want the easy win, not a federal lawsuit for violating the First Amendment. The final and most important point is this: you have to be willing to take the ticket. Many people get so caught up in winning the stop that they end up getting arrested for something stupid. If the officer is going to write you a ticket for speeding, take the ticket. Sign it. Signing a ticket is not an admission of guilt. It is just a promise to appear in court or pay the fine. If you refuse to sign, you are going to jail. Outsmarting the cop means knowing when the field portion of the battle is over. Once the ticket is in your hand, the battle moves to the courthouse, where the rules are much more favorable to you than they are on the shoulder of a highway. If you follow these 5 moves: environmental reset, deflection of confession, non-consent blanket, the 5-minute clock, and preemptive recording silence, you are doing everything in your power to protect your future. You are acting as your own first line of defense. Remember, the police have an entire department and a city attorney on their side. You have the Constitution and your own intelligence on yours. Don't go into a traffic stop unarmed with knowledge. These moves are your legal vests. They protect you from the shots the system tries to take at your liberty. In the legal world, we have a saying: you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. My goal is for you to beat both. I don't want you to just win in court 6 months from now. I want you to go home tonight. The way you go home tonight is by de-escalating the officer's ego while simultaneously fortifying your legal position. Be the most boring person the cop pulls over all day. Be the person who provides the documents, refuses the search, stays silent, and asks to leave. That is the winning formula. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, and it's not what you see in the movies, but it is what works in real life. I've seen countless lives changed by a single traffic stop that went wrong. I've seen people lose jobs because of a consent search that found a tiny amount of something they forgot was in the car. It is a tragedy, because it is avoidable. You have the power to say no. You have the power to stay silent. These moves are not tricks to help people get away with crimes. They are the fundamental guards of a free society. If we don't use our rights, we lose them. Every time you assert your Fourth Amendment right on the side of the road, you are keeping that right alive for everyone else. So, the next time those lights come on, don't panic. Take a deep breath. Turn on your dome light. Put your hands on the wheel. And remember the moves. You are not a victim of the system. You are a participant in a legal process. And if you are the smartest person in that process, you are the one who is going to walk away with your freedom intact. Stay safe, Stay respectful, and most importantly, stay silent. I'll see you in the next one, where we continue to break down how to handle the most difficult legal situations with the precision of a pro.